Scene script. Have you ever pondered about the invisible dangers that exist around us? What about radiation, an unseen silent threat? Let's delve into the world of radiation, a term that often brings to mind images of nuclear disasters or superhero origin stories. But what exactly is radiation? Well, in the simplest of terms, radiation is a form of energy. It's not something you can see or touch, but it's all around us. It can travel in waves like light from the sun, or in particles like the heat from a fire. Just think about it. You're sitting there, right now, and energy is passing through you. It's passing through the walls around you, through the earth beneath you. It's even passing through the vast, seemingly empty reaches of space. That's the power of radiation. It's everywhere, permeating every aspect of our world. Now, radiation isn't just a product of human invention, it's a natural part of our world. It comes from the sun, from the earth, even from the food we eat. Every moment of every day we're surrounded by radiation in one form or another. But we humans, ever the innovators, have also found ways to create radiation artificially. We use it in medicine to diagnose and treat illnesses. We use it in industry to test the safety of products and materials. We even use it in our homes in devices like microwaves and smoke detectors. Yet for all its uses, radiation is not always our friend. It is, after all, a form of energy, and like any form of energy, it can be harmful if not properly managed. High levels of radiation can damage our bodies, our environment, even our way of life. So, while radiation might seem like a remote, abstract concept, it's anything but. It's a part of our world, a part of our lives. It's an unseen, silent threat that we must understand if we're to protect ourselves and our world. You might not see it or feel it, but radiation is all around us, and it's not always our friend. So, where does radiation come from? And why should you care? Let's dive right into it. Radiation is all around us, and it comes from a variety of sources, both natural and artificial. The natural sources of radiation are as old as the universe itself, with cosmic radiation originating from the sun and beyond. Yes, that's right, every time you're basking in the sun, you're actually being exposed to a form of radiation. But don't worry, the Earth's atmosphere does a good job at shielding us from most of this. Then there's terrestrial radiation, which comes from the ground beneath our feet. Our planet's crust contains radioactive materials like uranium and radon, which naturally emit radiation. Even the air we breathe and the food we eat can contain traces of these radioactive materials. But radiation isn't just a natural phenomenon, it's also a byproduct of human activities. Take medical procedures, for instance. From X-rays to radiation therapy, these medical marvels harness the power of radiation to diagnose and treat diseases. Then there are nuclear power plants, which produce radiation as a byproduct of generating electricity. Even your microwave and your old television set, believe it or not, emit a very low level of radiation. So why should you care about all this? Well, while small amounts of radiation are part of our daily lives and mostly harmless, larger doses can be harmful. The key lies in understanding the sources of radiation and the levels they produce. By being aware, we can take appropriate precautions when necessary, and make informed decisions about our health and the environment. Remember, radiation isn't inherently bad. It's a tool, like fire. Fire can cook our food and keep us warm, but it can also burn and cause destruction. Similarly, radiation can be used to power our cities, treat diseases, and even explore the universe. But if not managed properly, it can also pose significant risks. Understanding where it comes from is the first step to understanding why radiation can be dangerous. So let's continue this journey and delve deeper into the effects of radiation on the human body. Radiation isn't just some abstract concept, it interacts with our bodies in very real ways. Let's delve into the specifics. At its core, radiation is energy that travels in the form of waves or high-speed particles. When it comes into contact with biological tissue, like the human body, it can cause damage, particularly to our cells and DNA. Imagine your body as a bustling city, with cells as the buildings and DNA as the blueprints. Just as a city thrives on the smooth operation of each building, your body's health depends on the proper functioning of each cell and the accuracy of the DNA blueprints within them. When radiation comes into the picture, it's like a storm sweeping through this city. Low levels of radiation might be akin to a light rain shower. It may cause some disruption, minor damage to the buildings or cells, and perhaps a few smudged blueprints or DNA. But in general, the city can recover. Our bodies are designed to repair minor cellular and DNA damage, much like a city can patch up buildings and redraw blueprints. However, exposure to high levels of radiation is another story. It's like a tornado ripping through the city. Buildings, cells, can be destroyed, and blueprints, DNA, can be irreparably damaged or lost. As a result, the city, our body, can't function properly. Cells may die, leading to tissue and organ damage, or they might divide uncontrollably due to faulty DNA, potentially leading to cancers. The difference between low and high radiation exposure is not merely a matter of scale, it's about the capacity of our bodies to recover and repair. While we can often bounce back from minor damage caused by low-level radiation, intense or prolonged exposure can push our bodies beyond their limits. It's important to remember that radiation is a part of our natural environment, and our bodies are equipped to handle certain amounts. But like many things in life, the dose makes the poison. The human body is resilient, but prolonged or intense exposure to radiation can push it beyond its limits. So, what happens when our bodies are pushed beyond their limits by radiation? Well, radiation can have a multitude of effects on the human body, some temporary, others permanent, and many that can be quite devastating. These effects vary greatly depending on the amount and type of radiation, the duration of exposure, and the specific area of the body that's exposed. Imagine this. You've been out in the sun too long, and you get a sunburn. That's a form of radiation burn, albeit a mild one. Now think about that same burn, but hundreds of times more intense. That's what high levels of radiation can do to your skin. It can cause severe burns that are not only incredibly painful, but also difficult to heal, leading to long-term damage and even disfigurement. But the damage doesn't stop at the skin. Radiation can also wreak havoc inside your body. You've probably heard of radiation sickness, also known as acute radiation syndrome. This can occur when a person is exposed to a large amount of radiation in a short period of time. Symptoms can range from nausea and vomiting to hair loss, bleeding, and severe diarrhea. If left untreated, it can lead to a rapid decline in health and, in severe cases, death. Perhaps the most worrisome effect of radiation is its ability to increase the risk of cancer. This is because radiation can damage the DNA in our cells, which can lead to mutations and the uncontrolled growth of cells, which is, essentially, what cancer is. And it's not just an immediate concern. The effects of radiation exposure can linger for years, even decades, increasing the risk of cancer long after the initial exposure. And let's not forget about chronic exposure to radiation. While the effects of a single intense exposure can be severe, repeated exposure over a long period of time can be just as damaging, if not more so. It can lead to a host of health problems, from cataracts and fertility issues to cardiovascular disease and cancer. Radiation, when uncontrolled, can cause irreversible damage and even death. But remember, our understanding of radiation and how to protect ourselves from it is constantly evolving. So while the dangers are real, so too are the measures we can take to protect ourselves and mitigate these risks. Now that you understand the dangers of radiation, it's crucial to know how to protect yourself. The first line of defense is understanding the principles of time, distance, and shielding. Let's break it down. Time refers to the duration of exposure. The less time you spend around sources of radiation, the lower your exposure. In other words, if you need to be in a radiation environment, make it quick. Distance, on the other hand, is about space. Radiation intensity decreases as you move farther away from the source. It's like sitting next to a campfire. The closer you are, the hotter it feels. So keep your distance when possible. Now let's talk shielding. This is all about barriers. Different types of radiation require different shields. For instance, lead is often used to block gamma rays, while plastic is better suited for stopping beta particles. The key is using the right shield for the type of radiation you're dealing with. But remember, you can't protect yourself from a danger you're not aware of. This is why radiation detectors and warning signs are so important. They alert us to the presence of radiation, allowing us to take necessary precautions. So, if you see a sign that says radiation area, take it seriously. In the end, protection from radiation is all about understanding and respecting the dangers it presents. It's about being aware, taking precautions, and knowing how to respond. It's about not fearing the unseen, but respecting it. It's important to note, though, that the level of radiation most of us are exposed to in our daily lives is generally low, and not a cause for concern. But in certain situations and occupations, knowing how to protect yourself can be a lifesaver. Remember, knowledge is power. Stay informed, stay safe, and always respect the unseen dangers of radiation.